Incoming subspace signal.
You are watching Central Valley Geeks. Please welcome our host and resident geeks, Scott and Shawn.
I'm back, baby!
We are the Central Valley Geeks. I am Scott. This is Shawn. Welcome to part 4, which is also about episode 4 of Ahsoka. And the episode is called Fallen Jedi. That's the name of a video game, right?
No, Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Okay. To me, the episode started kind of dark. I mean, they're landed. Ahsoka comes out of the out of the ship. She's like looking around, and then she flat out basically tells Sabine, "Yo, if we can't stop them from using the map, we have to destroy it because no one can use the map."
Yeah.
And Sabine's like, "Yeah, sure, we'll totally do that." No,
of course she did. They should have just destroyed the map in the first place as soon as they had the chance.
I actually completely agree with that.
There never should have been a if, and, or buts about it.
I agree. I think that they should have destroyed it as soon as Ahsoka found it in episode 1, and boom, the show would be over.
Not necessarily.
But then we wouldn't get the next episode, which episode 5 was really, really good. You know what? I did like this episode. In my notes, I actually have a full page of notes for this. I think this was out of the 4 episodes, this was definitely my favorite episode. So we talked about it being kind of dark. Sabine and Ezra were supposedly really close, but from what little I know about Rebels, Ezra sacrificed himself to destroy the Empire and banish Thrawn. To me, that says that Sabine should know that Ezra would not want the possibility of Thrawn to be able to return. Ezra would have wanted her to destroy the map rather than give Thrawn the ability to get to the other galaxy.
Yeah.
The fact that doesn't happen, it's very convenient story writing. Earlier you mentioned that you don't understand how Ahsoka wasn't able to tell that Hu Ying is being attacked 5 feet below her. I mentioned she didn't have her force radar on.
There were robots punching each other. The door was open.
No, I agree, and actually one of the things I liked about that shot
was the robots fighting.
Oh,
that
great.
was so cool.
No, before the fight started, when he's fixing it, and then he stops and he squints his eyes to try to look, and for a robot to squint his eyes to focus actually takes away. He sees less because he's closing his cameras. But I love that they squinted his eyes and he's looking, and then the thing pops up, and a metal hand over a metal face is able to muffle the scream for help. I loved that. So to me, I even put in here, to me that means when he was built thousands of years ago, the builder said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and soundproof this speaker around his mouth hole. We're going to put silicone so that the sound doesn't leak out, and sound can only come out of the mouth slit, so that if anything covers that mouth slit, you can't hear him. I just thought that was great. It makes absolutely no sense at all when it comes to how robots work, but it was awesome.
Well, this robot can go in water.
Droids can go in water?
I don't know how.
Without
its speaker getting messed up. I'm just saying.
I was looking for my iPhone. My iPhone is what we're using to record this. On my iPhone, my speakers on my iPhone can get wet.
Yeah.
And
I get that. Yeah. I'm just mean like every other droid in the Star Wars universe, half the time they have panels that are missing. You can see the inside. He is a cohesive, built one droid. Like he looks like something more from a Marvel movie.
And he is 75% original parts. He does actually make that comment in, I believe it's the second episode, and I love that when he's talking to Sabine. Oh, you're doing well, Hui. Yeah, and 75% original parts. That's great because that also means that 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years later, we still have the parts to fix him.
Yeah.
Or he has like 30 models of him in storage, and they just keep taking parts from it.
That could be a possibility.
Um, and you can't. He gets his mouth covered. I loved the fact that when he's being attacked and he's yelling help and he's got the mouth over his face, his extra arms come out to break the ship so that Ahsoka and Sabine can come help him. And then Sabine's like, "Oh, that dumb droid, he just made it worse." And Ahsoka's like, "No, that dumb droid wouldn't make it worse. Something's wrong." She pulls out her lightsaber and goes out there and she takes care of business.
Yeah.
Which was cool. There wasn't a whole lot of fight with that, but then it led to the Shin and Merrick fight versus Ahsoka and Sabine. I said that they killed the droid super quick. Before the fight, I didn't want to make a mention of this. We play Dungeons and Dragons. The next time we play Dungeons and Dragons, I'm gonna probably try to record it, post a little bit of it, but we're not gonna post the entire thing. We're not gonna be a Dungeons and Dragons channel. But I love when Hu Yang asked them to stay together. That's like one of the biggest rules in Dungeons and Dragons. He calls me Captain Meta because I'm always metagame out when we're playing or whatever. And one of the characters wants to go off to the bar, another character wants to. I'm like, no, we gotta stay together. No, we gotta stay together, you bastards. And I love that. And then of course, what happens? They separate, and then shit goes down.
Yeah. Immediately.
We see General Syndulla literally abuse her power and even says as much to her lieutenant to make something up for the committee. Because the guy runs after her, "You can't go anywhere. Well, you gonna stop me? I'm a general."
No.
And then she flies out. Hera, and like I mentioned in another video, I'm going, at least for this series. After this series, I may never refer to Chopper again, let alone refer to him as a war criminal. But right now, he's a war criminal Chopper. But Hera, Chopper, Jason, and an X-wing squadron led by Carson Teva decide to go to Cetos. One of the cool things that I've read and heard about Carson Teva's character is they're comparing him to Phil Coulson of the MCU because he's in The Mandalorian. He's been in The Mandalorian 2 times now. At least 2 times. I believe he was in an episode of Boba Fett. I don't think he did anything, and I could be wrong on that. But then
he was just in it,
and then he was in this, show. And my understanding of how the actor actually got that job is he knew the director. I believe it was Deborah Chow or Deborah Cho, something like that, of Mandalorian season 1, and he mentioned to her, "Hey, my cosplay looks almost as good as the real thing." And since they were friends, she cast him, and now he's in everything.
Nice.
So sometimes it really is who you know. Oh, hey, if you're friends with James Gunn, you're gonna be in something in the DC.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, again, if you're not a Rebels fan, you're not gonna know this, but Hera and Teva have a small conversation. Hera mentions once a rebel, always a rebel. Teva then tells her he's on her 6 and calls her Phoenix Leader. That was her call sign in Rebels. And at several times we also hear Hera call Ahsoka, and she's calling them Fulcrum, and that was her call. That was Ahsoka's call sign in Rebels as well. So there is definitely a lot of Rebel stuff coming in here. But from what little Googling I did, and I actually did Google it a little bit, as far as I can tell, Carson Teva is a Mandalorian show creation and was not in Rebels. Couldn't I kind of confirmed it on Wikipedia, and it said that the first time we saw him was when he was going after Din Djarin. Oh, and the other thing that's important to know about Wativa is we know from this scene and from the scene in Mandalorian season 3 when he's talking to Mando and the other Mandalorians that he was in the Rebellion War with the Red astrometrics droid R5D4, who, if you know about lore or anything, R5D4 was actually the original droid in A New Hope that Luke and his uncle were going to buy, but then it popped a servo and they got R2D2 instead. Legends and possibly some canon. I'm not sure if it's in the comics or not. I think it might be, but I haven't read them all. They say that R5D4 is actually slightly force sensitive, and he broke himself on purpose so that Luke would get R2D2 because he knew through the Force that Luke needed R2D2 to destroy the Empire. And then R5D4 went on to do other things in the Rebellion War. That's what I've read online. I don't know how true if it's still canon.
It's one of the dumbest things I've heard.
Why?
Just sounds really dumb. Like, why is a droid force sensitive?
I thought you're the Legends guy. I heard Legends has a lot of force sensitive. Well, not a lot, but like 5 or 6 force sensitive robots.
No.
No, you don't remember any?
No. If there are any, they're cyborgs.
Like Grievous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm just going off of stuff I've heard and read online. I may be 100% wrong on this, but I
could be too, but I do not remember a force sensitive robot. Again, unless it's a cyborg, like Vader at that,
Yeah, Vader. Yeah. Then we see Ahsoka and Sabine encounter Shin and Merrick, which in and of itself was a good fight. They stare each other down, and then
he tries to use the lamest lightsaber ever, and she cuts him down.
I don't know why he doesn't like the spinning Inquisitor blade. It's not the greatest. They wanted it to be the next Darth Maul blade. It definitely was not the next Darth Maul blade, but they tried something new, and it didn't work out quite as well as they had hoped.
If he had 2 of them and he threw them or something, I don't know.
Well, even speaking of that, in episode 2, when they're on Corellia, he does throw the blade at her at one point.
Yeah.
Then he runs to get on a ship, and then he uses the Force to have it come back to him. And she just leans out of the way.
Yeah, she knew where it was.
Yeah,
and where it was coming.
Yeah, I thought I didn't mention that when we did that video, but I kind of thought that was dumb because if she just leans out of the way, couldn't he just like flick?
But she would know, and she would move more out of the way.
But then it would at least look like he tried.
He was very fast. How fast that thing flew by her. He was trying to fly by her faster. Yeah. Pulling it as fast as he could. Wasn't spinning anymore either, from what I could tell, was it?
Not when he was grabbing it.
That's what I thought. Yeah. And it doesn't even need to have the mechanics to make it spin in the first place. That whole thing is dumb. That's it. I'm done.
It was used against the Jedi by the Sith Inquisitors, and they're called Sith Inquisitors even though they're not actually Sith. But they are Force sensitive. Some of them are even former Jedi. And actually, if you did not watch Kenobi at all, huh?
No.
I
watched the first or second episode.
One of the main characters in that show, the bad guy in that show, was a youngling at the Jedi Temple during Order 66, which is why she turned evil. But anyways, we see Ahsoka and Sabine encounter Shin and Merrick in the forest, and I'm guessing Sabine let her emotions get the better of her, and she attacked Shin. Had she waited and let Ahsoka attack Shin, we probably could have had a more even fight, where it was Ahsoka versus Shin, who are more proficient with the Force and lightsabers, and then Merrick versus Sabine. Merrick is definitely a better Force user than Sabine is, but not. I don't know. It just
if you look at the first fight between when Ahsoka and Merrick first do their first little duel, and
on Corellia or in the Force,
the first time.
Okay.
And he's winning. There is no way Sabine would have taken even a step against him. He would have slaughtered her. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't think the way the power levels seem to be, they did it the right way, because Shin and fucking Sabine seem to be pretty close to each other, even though Shin should be stronger for having been trained her life, I assume.
Well,
we don't know. She could have just been picked up as an apprentice
Well,
in the last couple of years.
Ahsoka's been.
I'm not talking about Ahsoka.
I know, but I'm talking about it. You said that they should be both at the same power since they both.
Ahsoka should be much stronger.
Yeah,
That's
Ahsoka
all. Like
should.
Ahsoka
Yeah.
should have been able to take both of them on without a sweat.
Yeah.
And probably the other guy.
And I think after episode 5,
she probably
can.
Yeah.
I'm no spoiler because that just doesn't happen in the show. But I think after episode 5, she gets the necessary whatever it is that she needs.
But like honestly, Sabine being a Mandalorian and a Jedi should be able to hold off the two of them while Ashoka's fighting the main like big dude, the
Balin
like,
Skull,
with no problem. Like that should be the dynamic. But it seems like they're just, I don't know.
Well, Sabine was trying to use primarily her Jedi training until she couldn't use the Force, and then she uses her Mandalorian thing, and that is actually the first glimpse we get of what works for her.
Yeah.
When she incorporates Jedi and Mandalorian tactics, she's a good fighter.
Like when she shouldn't have had both blasters in her hand. She should have a saber in one hand and the blaster in the other.
Yeah.
Like she's blocking and shooting.
But that's where I think her emotions got the better of her because she's the one who stabbed her in the gut. I want to kill this bitch.
Yeah.
But I think, but then they fight, and then we find out that Merrick is not Ezra because Sabine, or I'm sorry, not Sabine. Ahsoka cuts him in half, and we get this poof of green smoke and a real weird eerie scream. And we come to find out that Merrick isn't anyone special other than probably a Night Brother who has been reanimated. So there goes the specialness of Merrick. Although I still don't
reanimated Urza.
I still don't. I don't know where I was going to go with that. You threw me off.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just saying, like, we don't know that Urza went to the other galaxy. That's all I'm saying. Like
Ezra.
That's what I said.
You said Urza.
Yeah, whatever.
You keep saying Urza.
It's the same thing.
That's okay. Sabine. I keep thinking her name is Sabian for some reason. But I'm
at least you're not saying. What was it? I can't remember.
And Shin's name is terrible. Not gonna lie, you're named after a dumb body part. You just are.
Named after ramen.
Huh?
Shin ramen is the best.
Yeah, when you say the word Shin, I'm not.
All I think is ramen.
I'm not Japanese. I think of your leg.
My first thought is ramen. I have some in the house. It's really spicy. It's so good.
If you say Maruchan, I think of ramen. Okay, so I think that if the fight would have went the other way, that it would have been a more even fight, and Sabine might have actually been able to win. But
against the Merrick thing, I don't think so.
Merrick is
not the way that he held himself against Ashoka. That's all.
I think Merrick is actually supposed to be portrayed though as weaker than Shin and Balin though. Okay. Like Balin's the strongest, then Shin, then Merrick.
Yeah.
So that's why Ahsoka should be fighting Balin, and let Sabine fight Merrick, and then
eventually.
But yeah, I just let's pretend that it was not just writer convenience.
Yeah. Like, why did they even need him? He did nothing.
You're gonna honestly, as much as I like the character of Balin Skull, I'm sorry, you're gonna say that at the end of episode 8 also.
Oh, probably, yeah.
You're gonna say, well, why did we need Shin? Why did we need Balin Skull? And then on top of that, you're really gonna wish that Ray Stevenson didn't die.
Yeah.
But we cut to the map. The map is, as soon as they put the map up and it starts getting the coordinates, like it goes boop boop, you instantly get 9 of the thing you get 2 of the 9 in coordinates chevrons.
That's all I
chevron locked. But did you notice how it went? Like when Merrick and Sabine, when they were having the 4 fight over here, it was like the thing had gone like almost halfway, and then when Ahsoka slowly walks up to Balin and they have their nice little chit chat, the thing slows down. It's like it took 2 minutes to get to halfway, and then it takes 10 minutes to get the rest of the way.
So it was a Steam download.
I was gonna I was gonna say an Apple install.
There you go, same thing, yeah.
But it didn't make sense. You would think that you get one coordinate, and each one of those should take a
Just gigs
minute.
out, yeah.
So it should have taken 9 complete minutes to get the coordinates.
If that.
If
Since
that,
technically the coordinates were already in the map, like it's just uploading them.
yeah,
And they're numbers in an ancient computer. It should have been instantaneous.
and if David was here, he would ask if the ancient computer was made by ancient aliens, and we would say
At
yes
the time, no.
because they wouldn't have been ancient. No.
At the time,
yeah,
no. Yeah.
correct. Yes, David, I am mocking you from afar. Have fun at work. um. So we get the dismembered Night Brother, and then Shin sees that Merrick is killed, and Sabine, I almost said Sabian. Sabine tells Ahsoka, "Go to him. I got this. I can handle this shit." No, she can't. But this is then where we get the fake Force out, where she's on the ground. She's trying to use the Force, and Shin is like, "No, don't hurt me!" And then she's like, "Wait a minute, you ain't got no power, bitch." And then she throws then the map comes down, and then she throws the smoke bomb and runs away. But the fight between Baylan and Ahsoka, that was a really cool fight. The fight between Ahsoka and Merrick, when that fight started and she pulled out just the one blade, I was confused. Why wasn't she dual blading? The entire time she fought Merrick, she wasn't dual blading. Then when she starts fighting Baylan, she's not dual blading, and it's not till about halfway through the fight that you find out why she's not dual blading, because she has to have one hand free to grab the map. She didn't have to have that hand free when she was fighting Merrick.
She didn't have the hand free ever.
She thought she did in order to get it. So I'll give her.
As she was born with mage hand.
Let's assume Night Sister magic and that flame kept it in place, which was also why it was so hard for her to actually physically move it. Maybe it was an anti-force. It had a force field around it.
There you go. I dig it. That works.
The force field prevented her from moving it, and the fight was awesome. I loved Ahsoka putting her foot up against the thing and then face to face. It was a really cool fight between the two. Then when Shin runs in, Ahsoka sees Shin by herself and immediately thinks, "Shit, my apprentice died." I have so little faith in my apprentice that the second I see the person that she's fighting, I assume she's dead.
Also, she immediately lets anger get a hold of her and slams the lady's head against the wall. And it was amazing.
I have that. Like I said, I wrote lots of notes for this. Ahsoka is able to remove the map, but it burns her hand in the process. Kind of reminiscent of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which was kind of cool. Shin and Sabine realize the map is down. Shin runs. Baylan attacks Ahsoka. She's weakened by her burned hand, so she can't. Before she was switching her lightsaber between hands, but now her hand's burned, so she only has the one hand. This is where when Shin runs up, he was talking about she uses the Dark Force.
Not Dark Force.
I'm sorry. She uses the Force to push her against the wall. Shin also, for a moment, acts like she's choking her before she gets pushed.
Like she pushed her up, like she picked her up by her neck.
Yeah. So I'm like, did she force choke her like Darth Vader is very well known for?
Pick her up and whole body just happens to be.
Or did she do a Simpsons? Why you little?
I think it was more of a she reached out with a giant force hand, and that's part of the whole thing. Because she lifts
not gonna
her
lie,
up.
dude, that was pretty cool when you just crushed your hand and you. Yeah, that's I.
I did it on purpose. Yeah, I don't have to. But because she picks her up and she could have just fling her away. Like when she did.
No, she throws her
But
against.
she picks her up and then she slams her.
Oh
against
yeah, that was great.
Like head first on purpose too.
Yeah.
Like she picked her up by the head and pulls her No, it was cool, but it was definitely not
Jedi, not Jedi.
Exactly.
And Ahsoka force pushes. I think there was a little bit of force choking in there. Baylan corners Ahsoka. And just before it looks like Baylan is actually going to kill Ahsoka, Sabine shows up with the blaster at the map, and Ahsoka tells her to destroy the map, but unsurprisingly to anyone, she hesitates. And the hesitation is enough to of a distraction so that Baylan is able to knock Ahsoka off a cliff, and boom, series is over, and Ahsoka is dead. So the next four episodes are called Star Wars Sabine. But the rest of this episode, we see Baylan convince Sabine that, oh, give me the map. I'll help you. I'll take you to see Ezra. You'll be all good. And then this is where you were talking about Shin attacks her again. After she gives the map.
No, I know what I was either getting confused with or you are. When she got stabbed was the first fight.
Yeah, that was in the first episode. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, no, that was okay. I don't know what we're talking about with that then.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so it's all good.
So at the end, Shin does start to force choke Sabine, and Baylan tells her to stop because he promised her and he keeps his word. Unlike Ahsoka, Sabine's former master. And then we see Hu Yang, who's on the comms unit, trying to get a hold of Hera. Hera shows up just in time to see the Eye of Sion jump into hyperspace, giving us a chronological preview of the Holdo maneuver from The Last Jedi. Because when the Eye of Sion goes to hyperspace, it destroys at least 2 of those X-Wings. I thought it was all but 2, but I think it was just 2 that were destroyed. And then the episode doesn't end, and we actually go to the cliff where Ahsoka fell. We're watching the waves, and then the waves slowly turn into a starfield, and then we see Ahsoka lying / floating on a shimmery walkway. When she stands up, we hear the voice of Hayden Christensen.
And we see him.
And then Ahsoka's confused, and she turns around and she sees Anakin Skywalker exactly as he looked in the Clone Wars. And he doesn't have that blue aura around him like a Force ghost either. So she is seeing Anakin Skywalker.
No, that's because the blue aura is everywhere else.
that's something that we'll definitely have to talk about in the next episode. But the show ends. The master and apprentice reuniting. Fallen Jedi here is actually a great name for the episode because technically everyone in this episode has been a fallen Jedi. Ahsoka was a fallen Jedi when she was accused of bombing the Jedi Temple, and when she was found innocent, she left the Jedi Order. Still, she did not go back in, so she's still a fallen Jedi. Baylan left. We still don't 100% know if he left before Order 66 or he left the Jedi Temple because of Order 66. But either way, he's a fallen former Jedi. Shin, she was never a Jedi, but she's dark user. And then
I thought they were implying that she was possibly a youngling from the Ahsoka to then from there. She even has the fucking braid.
I caught the braid, but I don't know if it's supposed to imply that she's from the Order or not, because because when he mentions the Jedi Temple, she makes it seem like she's never that's not something she's aware of.
Yeah, that's true. Or she just didn't want to be reminded of it,
like Grogu. But with that being the end, and the episode confusingly ends playing the Vader theme. So, did we get Anakin Skywalker, or did we get Darth Vader here? And I think that there is actually a distinction between the two. And in the show Kenobi and other materials, Anakin has stated that Anakin is dead, or Darth Vader has stated many times that Anakin is dead. And in Kenobi, he said, "I killed Anakin." When he's talking to Kenobi.
They also imply that Vader killed Luke's father. Remember, they straight up say he killed your father.
Yeah, and then
that's the same Vader you're talking about. Like that's what they told Luke.
Well, yeah, but in A New Hope, when they tell Luke that they had not planned on Darth Vader being his father yet.
Still worked out.
It did. And that's why they
That
have.
explains why it was James Earl Jones stuff.
And actually, speaking of that, that's the next book I'm going to read after the Scott Lang book. I'm going to read From a Certain Point of View that came out in August. I've got it on audiobook and Kindle. So go sign up for Amazon. I'm not paid sponsor by Amazon, but I use their products. Yay, Amazon. Okay, so one thing that I had issues with this series, we've mentioned it a little bit throughout the 4-part series, is I did a lot of research on who these people were. I had to do homework to figure this show
And then
out.
It doesn't matter. It might matter later though.
I know what doesn't matter because I've seen everything. He still hasn't, but
I meant after these. It might still.
oh
matter.
yeah. But like with say, I want to compare this show. This is a direct spin-off of Rebels. I want to compare this to a direct spin-off of The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. When Deep Space Nine started, you had one character that had a history in the franchise. You had Chief O'Brien, and in the first 15 minutes of the show, we find out that he came from the Enterprise because Picard wants to see Commander Sisko before Picard leaves. We find out that O'Brien is the chief engineer of Deep Space Nine, and and he has a wife. Keiko's talking about going to visit her mom in Japan. We find out everything that we need to know about him in those first 15 minutes, and then they build his character. And according to Lower Decks, he becomes the most important person in Federation history. I love Chief O'Brien.
Yep.
Call him Mimi if you are totally willing to do an interview. We don't even have to talk about Star Trek because of the writer's strike. Hit me up. We'll just chit chat about life and whatever. You're an awesome dude. But then they built all these other characters. You did not need to know really anything about Chief O'Brien or his history on the Enterprise.
Yeah, not at all.
With this show, I had to know who Ahsoka was. I had to know who Morgan Elsbeth was from The Mandalorian. I had to know. I didn't
have to. I couldn't remember who she was. I still very vaguely remember.
No,
she's just a vague bad guy. If you don't know, like that's it.
Honestly,
like out of context, all of this still works. If you
it does, but it leaves, if you don't do the homework, it leaves you with more questions than answers.
Yeah, but that's normal.
Think
of the first Matrix movie. You had no lore before that, and how many questions did you have after that?
But everything that we needed to know for that movie, we were told in that movie. Everything that we need to know for Ahsoka episodes 1 through 4, we haven't been told yet. And some of the information, because I know the future episodes, we will not be told.
Yeah.
But
is it even relevant? Like you have to know it to watch Ahsoka.
Have to know.
See, then there you go.
Understand and comprehend it.
Probably not even. Like I have no idea who Urza is.
Ezra.
But I still get the gist. You don't need to know. Just like you don't know who Luke's dad was that Vader killed. You didn't need to know.
We didn't need to know. But
and then you find out later, and you did need to know.
But I do. but I do need to know why Ezra is so important to Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hera.
Because
and I
they're
don't
family.
know.
That's it. It comes down to like you haven't watched the Fast and Furious movies, so it's family.
Actually, that kind of is. Hera is because Hera was married to Jarrus Kanan Jarrus. She's like a surrogate mother for Ezra. Yeah. So there is a familial connection there, but that's not established in this show. That's established in Rebels.
No, but I mean, without me watching Rebels, I've gotten that.
You don't have that. You don't have this. Not for Hera. Yeah. We do for Sabine because we have the little holograph say you're like a sister to me.
Well, then we have the other green-haired kid who keeps calling Hera mom, which kind of helps.
That's Jason.
Yeah, exactly.
Why does that help?
Because it doesn't seem like he's her biological kid. I know you said he was earlier,
yes, yeah.
But he doesn't seem that way to anybody who hasn't watched any of this stuff. So it still fits. It still works. That's all I'm saying.
But what does that have to do with knowing about Ezra?
Because he looks like Ezra.
Oh.
He looks like Sabine.
Oh, so your theory is that Jason is Sabine and Ezra's kid?
No, they're just related. They could be fucking cousins.
Oh, there's no blood relation.
That's all I'm saying. They just could have been. That's all I'm saying. Like They all have funky colored hair that doesn't seem to be dyed, so it's from their planet or whatever.
Yeah, Jason's ears. When his hair is back, his ears are green like Hera's
There you go.
uh
I'm just saying, like
ganglia or
you've
whatever.
got Sabine's hair, which granted, I assume she made the flame color.
I'm
She
assuming
had
that's
somebody
dyed.
do that, but probably not the top part. Like the rest of it seems like that's just her hair color.
No,
Hers
that
just seemed like he had a greenish tint to his hair in that thing,
no,
and then the kid. That's all I'm saying. Like it seems like they're related
no. So
without any context.
again, context,
It doesn't matter at this point. You can still watch it and enjoy it,
but you're getting it completely wrong because you don't have
but
the
it doesn't
context.
matter.
It does in the it does in the future probably because the reason that Sabine's hair is purple and flamey is because she
She's
um
a rebel.
no, actually think of her like Miles Morales from Into the Spider-Verse. She likes to do graffiti and she's an artist. She designed the Rebel logo.
She's not old enough to have designed the rebel logo.
She designed the Phoenix logo that got turned into the New Republic
The
Rebel
Ferengi
thing.
ship looking thing.
Yeah, that's what they say online. They are giving her credit for creating the Phoenix.
All right.
It's called the Phoenix bird,
That's
which you see on her arm, which looks, and then that was turned into the Rebels thing. I agree, doesn't make any sense. But I mean, when you go back and you talk about balance to the Force, yes, Anakin / Darth Vader did bring balance to the Force
Yeah.
at the original because we had
100%.
we had two dark users, Palpatine and Darth Vader.
Well, he had. Yeah, well, he also had Dooku, and don't forget there
No,
was plenty of other dark users.
well,
I'm not talking about
I'm
that. I
I'm
meant
no,
actual
I'm talking.
power in the universe.
I'm talking head people, important people, because there's little lower dark and light users, so I'm not counting any of those. But you had two Siths and you had two Jedi and Luke. It was balanced because Anakin killed every single other Jedi.
So, but we keep finding out that that's not
That's
true.
what I'm saying. Originally, it was balanced.
Yeah.
He killed everyone but two good and two bad. So it was completely balanced until Dave Filoni and George Lucas, because George Lucas was in charge of Dave Filoni at that point, decided no, let's get rid of Order 66 and make all the Jedi survive. And yeah,
Well, even
we're
in
at
the
like
Legends,
50 Jedi now.
in the Legends books, there's survivors too. There's planets where like Sith and Jedi had crash landed thousands of years ago, like during the wars, and nobody picked up their survivors. So there's force sensitive people, like stuff like that in the Legends books, and that's why I like them because they were able to keep all that still alive without going against Order 66 and all that shit.
And now it seems like they're actively fighting against Order 66. Um, we have several strong Force users in the galaxy right now, which is roughly 15 years before the Force Awakens. But every single one of them is gone by the Force Awakens. So that means there's that whatever this build up that they're coming to for the Dave Filoni movie, everyone's gonna die.
Wait, what?
What?
I didn't realize that Ahsoka was before the movies, before Rise of Skywalker and all this.
Yes, this is
This is a prequel.
This is 9 years after or this is roughly 9 years after Empire. So it's
So this isn't the same like timeline as the Mandalorian and stuff.
Mandalorian episode 1 takes place exactly it takes place 5 years after
Right.
After Empire Strikes Back.
So the three movies that I don't like,
The sequel trilogy take place
after all of these.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
50,
I'm no longer interested.
What do you mean?
I don't care anymore. That's dumb.
Oh, like I mentioned earlier, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were given the instructions to fix the sequel trilogy.
How's it fixing the sequel trilogy to bring in Thrawn 15 years after we never heard of him?
Because they're building up the First Order. They're giving us little pieces of Palpatine coming back in season 3. In season 1 of Mandalorian, you could take the M count from Baby Yoda. In season 2,
so Leia's still alive, is what you're telling me right now in this universe. Leia is still alive.
Yes, and
that part I did not understand. That's all really dumb.
And in episode 7, you get confirmation of that.
Yeah, that's dumb. I misunderstood that completely. I thought this was
No.
after The Last Jedi, A Rise of Skywalker.
No, this
and
is
all
taking
that shit.
place. This is taking place. I would say about 10 to 15 years before The Force Awakens. This is trying to set up the sequel trilogy. That's why Moff Gideon is doing all the cloning and stuff like that, because they're trying to explain Palpatine. They're trying to explain that
Yeah, that's
somehow
dumb.
Palpatine returned.
Okay.
And that's one of my issues with it too, is everything is leading to this point that we already know, and it's not like when the movie comes out for the first Jedi Order or whatever, the Origins, we don't know what happened 1500 years ago or the 1500 years coming up to that. We do know eventually they're going to lose, but there was probably some good shit that happened before that. Right now, we know no matter what Ahsoka and Sabine do, Ahsoka, Sabine, Ezra, Hera, Leia, no matter what any of them do in this show or the next show, we know that shit's gonna go to hell in The Force Awakens when the First Order destroys the 5 planets.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. It's just
And I was talking to you earlier about that
it just
that
kind of killed my interest.
senators Zion or Zion.
Yeah.
His when what we see from him in the show Resistance is his son thinks he's dead because he was on one of those planets, or he was supposed to be on one of those planets when they were blown up, and then he finds out when his dad calls him that his dad's alive, and he's shocked. He's like, "Oh my God, you're alive! Why weren't you on whatever planet it was?"
Yeah.
But yeah,
Because he knew what was going to happen.
I don't know. I haven't seen Resistance, and I only saw the little clip of him talking to the
saying,
hologram. No,
because he knew it was
you
gonna
can be
happen.
completely right. I don't know, but no, I like I don't mind the prequel type thing, because look at Andor. Andor is a great prequel.
Yeah, Andor was fun. Andor was great because it was a very closed storyline.
Yeah.
It didn't involve Ashoka. Didn't involve Anakin. It didn't involve this whole fucking legacy of the Force.
And that's actually, I'm liking the non-Force stuff of Star Wars better, because the Mandalorian, the more Jedi that they got, the worse the show got.
Yeah,
and
I didn't say it got worse. I just liked it.
I like the show, but it became less special, I guess, because
that's just the writers' issues, though.
Yeah.
Mandalorians should be on their own right.
Yeah, I like the show Mandalorian. I love Grogu's character. I really hope that season 4, we're gonna find out more about Navarro. I like that storyline. That story is gonna tie in with this story and the Book of Fett story into a Dave Filoni movie, where that Ryan Airy guy I mentioned earlier, he thinks that it's going to be he thinks it's going to be the Heir to the Empire trilogy. I don't think that I don't think Disney is going to do another trilogy like that when they already have.
They're not going
to,
because Heir to the Empire would be about Thrawn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to do a whole trilogy for a sequel or prequel or whatever again.
No, yeah, that's why I don't think it's going to be. I think it'll be one movie, but then for that movie, you're going
another TV show.
Well, right now they're saying it's a Dave Filoni movie, and Dave Filoni is still saying it's a Dave Filoni movie too. But in order to understand that Dave Filoni movie, you will have had to have watched The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka.
Yeah, that makes sense.
At
least they're not cartoons, like.
But if you watch The Empire Strikes Back, you have to watch A New Hope. Honestly, you don't even really have to watch A New Hope to watch Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, but you should.
You should. But anyways, that was our rundown of episodes 1 through 5. Now it's your time. 1 through 4. Now it's your time to do homework and press that like and subscribe button down below. And we'll catch you guys on next time. Thank you.